The New Year's greeting from the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin may have been generated by artificial intelligence. This was pointed out by analysts from Inform Napalm. They noted that on December 31st, just a few minutes before the New Year, Putin's New Year's greeting was published on the official Kremlin website, in which he was wearing a black tie. But a few minutes later, the video was deleted and replaced with another one, where the Russian dictator was wearing a red tie. Despite the replacement, the first version of the address was broadcast on regional Russian TV channels. The video with the black tie was also published in Z Publics. Soon after, a message appeared claiming that some of these resources had allegedly been hacked during a massive cyber attack. Analysts at Inform Napalm note that this is not the first case that raises doubts about the authenticity of Putin's New Year's addresses. They suggest that the Russian dictator not only has body doubles but also AI-generated avatars. Ordinary Russians also noticed signs that Putin might not have been real. In several public forums, they discussed the president's New Year's address. He didn't seem to have any hands.
His sleeves were empty.
That's artificial intelligence. His hand is small. And he speaks strangely.
This New Year's greeting was the shortest since the start of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine. Vladimir Putin's video address lasted only 3 minutes and 21 seconds and was focused on the topic of war and supporting the occupiers. In 2022 and 2024, Putin's addresses lasted 9 minutes each, and in 2023, almost 4 minutes.
US President Donald Trump is ready to intervene in the conflict between security forces and the population in Iran. He threatened the Iranian authorities with action if violent measures are taken against peaceful protesters. Trump made this statement on his social media.
If Iran shoots and brutally kills peaceful protesters, as it usually does, the United States of America will come to their aid. We are ready to take action.
As is known, protests in Iran have been ongoing for 5 days now due to the sharp drop in the national currency and the rapid rise in prices. Currently, the exchange rate is about 1.5 million Iranian rials to $1. Against this backdrop, food prices have soared by 60 to 70%. Shop owners, merchants, university students, as well as women's rights activists have taken to the streets to protest. Although the protests began as demonstrations against worsening living conditions, participants are also dissatisfied with the way Iran is being governed. The protesters are demanding changes in the country's leadership. Security forces are using brutal methods to suppress people, resulting in casualties and many injuries. According to media reports, at least 7 people have been killed and several dozen injured. It is also known that 7 people have been arrested. On the eve of the protest, US President Donald Trump stated that he would support new Israeli attacks on Iran if Tehran continues to work on missile development and its nuclear program. He said this before the start of talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Trump stated that if the nuclear program is resumed, the United States would have to destroy the nuclear facilities. At the same time, he expressed hope that it would not come to that.
The Democratic Party of the United States is urging Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy not to agree to the peace plan proposed by American President Donald Trump. This was written by Philip Gordon, former security advisor to Kamala Harris, in a column for the New York Times. Addressing Zelenskyy, he states that Trump's security guarantees are empty. Philip Gordon notes that doubts about the American leader's willingness to fulfill security guarantees for Ukraine begin with the fact that he has never shown the slightest desire to confront Russia directly, let alone militarily. On the contrary, Trump has significantly reduced US military and financial support for Ukraine and has repeatedly promised to expand US-Russian economic cooperation. The author of the column believes that Trump will not fulfill the key element of a peace agreement, namely, security guarantees for Ukraine equivalent to NATO's Article 5. Philip Gordon's article summarizes the situation as follows.
It would be naive and reckless for Zelenskyy to trade valuable strategic territories for such a dubious guarantee. Instead, he should focus his efforts at the negotiating table on tangible assets that will truly help defend Ukraine and deter Russia far more effectively than promises on paper.
Specifically, Gordon advises Zelenskyy to push for the adoption of a new major US arms package that includes Patriot air defense systems, F-16 fighter jets, and long-range missiles. Meanwhile, the US State Department has renewed its recommendation for American citizens to refrain from traveling to Russia and for those already in the country to leave its territory. The State Department cites numerous high risks associated with terrorism, wrongful detentions, and the arbitrary enforcement of local laws. This recommendation comes against the backdrop of Russia's nearly 4-year-long war against Ukraine.
To support the story about the death of the commander of the Russian Volunteer Corps, Denis Vaitreks Kapustin, a video was created showing a drone destroying a bus in which he was allegedly present. This was reported by the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense, reminding that this was done to preserve the life of the RVC commander as part of Timur's special unit of the GUR and to expose the enemy's agent network. Military intelligence officers carried out a complex, multi-stage special operation during which Kapustin's death was staged.
To support the cover story, a video was created showing the work of 2 strike drones. The first drone flew into the minibus where Kapustin was located. The second recorded the aftermath of the strike, the burning vehicle.
The GUR says that the masterminds of the crime within the Russian special services believe the video provided and paid the Ukrainian intelligence officers for the job, $500,000. On December 27, 2025, information appeared about the death of the founder and commander of the RDK, Denis Vaitreks Kapustin, in the Zaporizhzhia direction. According to the RDK statement, the defender of Ukraine died while carrying out a mission as a result of an enemy FPV drone strike. On January 1, 2026, the GUR reported that RDK commander Kapustin was alive. It was noted that Russia's operation to eliminate him had been thwarted. The head of the GUR, Budanov, personally announced that Kapustin is alive and that his assassination had been ordered by Russian intelligence services who allocated funds for the crime. $500,000.
I am truly pleased that the significant money received, which was intended for ordering your assassination, ultimately went to support our collective noble struggle.
It was reported that as a result of a complex special operation by the GUR, which lasted more than a month, the life of RDK commander Kapustin was saved, whom the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin considers his personal enemy. Additionally, the circle of individuals who ordered the crime within the Russian intelligence services, as well as the perpetrators, has been identified.
Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelenskyy has proposed that the head of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense, Budanov, lead the office of the President of Ukraine.
Right now, Ukraine needs greater focus on issues of security, development, the defense and security forces of Ukraine, as well as on the diplomatic track in negotiations. And the office of the president will serve above all to fulfill such tasks for our state.
Presidential advisor Dmytro Litvin stated, all the formal procedures for appointing Budanov as head of the president's office are underway. Budanov was born in 1986. He received his military education at the Odessa Institute of Land Forces. He has participated in combat operations since 2014. In 2022, under his command, special forces of the main intelligence directorate fought to liberate Bucha, Irpin, Dmitrivka and Kapitanivka from the occupiers, as well as took part in the defense of northern Donetsk. In 2023, Budanov was awarded the rank of lieutenant general. One of the latest special operations of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, led by Budanov, was carried out to save the life of the commander of the Russian Volunteer Corps, Denis Kapustin. In order to preserve the commander's life and expose an enemy agent network, military intelligence officers conducted a complex, multi-stage special operation. During this operation, his death was staged. Meanwhile, the Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine stated that Russia is preparing a large-scale provocation with casualties on January 7th or the day before, with the aim of disrupting peace negotiations.
With a high degree of probability, we predict a shift from manipulative influence to an armed provocation by the special services of the Russian Federation, resulting in significant casualties.
Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelenskyy listened to a report on January 2nd from the deputy head of the presidential office, Pavlo Polissa. Preparations are currently underway for the visit of security advisors to Ukraine. Events are also being prepared within the framework of the Coalition of the Willing. Zelenskyy stated that the deputy head of the presidential office is working on changes in Ukraine's defense forces and in the coming weeks will be working with brigades and military command on effective solutions.
Russia was unable to occupy even 1% of Ukrainian territory in 2025. This is evidenced by data from Deep State.
This amounts to approximately 0.72% of Ukraine's total territory. In total, from January 1st, 2023 to January 1st, 2026, the increase in occupied territory amounted to 7,463 square kilometers, or 1.23% of the entire territory.
The Russian Ministry of Defense claims that the city of Kupiansk is allegedly under the control of units from the 6th Guards Combined Arms Army of the West military group. However, the Ukrainian armed forces report that the Russians are surrounded in Kupiansk with no prospects for a breakout. This was stated by Viktor Tregobov, head of the communications department of the Joint Forces grouping. The Russians themselves admit that their soldiers are encircled.
I hope the guys make it out of the pocket. For those who did not return, compensation was paid so that people could move on from all this and start the new year with a clean slate.
Meanwhile, CNN writes, the Russian Federation's war against Ukraine has entered a gloomy period, but this does not stop Putin. Russia's full-scale aggression has lasted almost as long as Nazi Germany's war against the USSR, 1,418 days. This milestone will be reached by the war in Ukraine on January 11, 2026, and there are no signs of a quick end, CNN analysts write.